Morning.
Nachiket this side, and welcome to Heroes of Engineering Coffee Connect, Coffee Meet. And we are warmly able to welcome Nikhil due to his acceptance to our invitation.
Thank you.
So, Nikhil Topkar, uh, very warm welcome to Heroes of Engineering podcast. This is more to do with you rather than us. So, we are going to explore more about you, not more introduction. I don't want to have burdening introduction of yours. We'll have an introduction as we speak. I'm going to ask some provoking questions, and we'll see how we can get guidance to mechanical engineers as well as core engineering domain when it comes down to the career path as well as I can say startup building. That's a buzzword, and the core sector which you are working, which is defense.
Yes.
So let's try and understand all these things. So warm welcome to live audience. As I mentioned in the previous podcasts also, the first part of the podcast is going to get recorded and will be published on YouTube. But the later part of podcast, which is question answer session, is 100% focused on live audience. So that's not going to get recorded. So if you really want to have your questions to be answered, you have to come to ELENO or to Heroes of Engineering and ask real questions. Okay, good. So the first question to the audience: how many of you feel core engineering still has huge potential? Yeah, good. So core engineering is something which we are trying to talk about. Not just mechanical engineering, it's electronics and telecommunication, which is taking leaps forward. So we launched some 5G modules in the recent days, which are 100% Indian modules. So that's also a very important aspect here. And we also have a very good engineering branch, which is civil engineering,
Yes.
infra and infra build, which is being not taken too seriously, but it is doing strides in its technological advancements. So, for example, the entire uh, corridor for Ahmedabad Mumbai bullet train is something which is built by civil engineers from L&T with a basic input from Japanese engineers. But apart from rolling stock, everything is built by these guys. So I am also hopeful to have core engineering as a future. The next important question to audience is if you could solve one industry problem, which field will you choose? That's something which is for students, and that is something which is a probing question. This is a question to be asked for 7th standard, 8th standard, 10th standard, or something 11th standard students, which can actually get provoked by this question. And coming to the more main important aspect, what is one thing you want to learn from today's session? So this is something which you can focus on and ask questions to Nikhil, who will be very happy to give you answers whenever he feels to answer you. Okay. So, what inspired your journey as an innovator, Nikhil? I'll come back to what you did, but or what you are doing. But what is the main inspiration? What inspired you as an innovator? Because you are an innovator, we all know that.
Yes. So when we started our journey, innovation was probably like we started our business not um, from the aspect of being an innovator. We just started out. But there was a very important incident that happened, uh, which was like I was having an interaction with a DGQA officer, and he told me that during the Kargil war, the situation in India was such that the tires of Bofor's gun used to be imported all the way from abroad, and they used to come to Delhi, 2 tires, 4 tires, 5 tires, and there was an entire team of DGQ officers who were stationed at the Delhi airport just to do the inspection so that the wheels can be sent to the border so that one gun, second gun, third gun at a time can be started. And this was a huge time lapse which happened, and we lost a lot of strategic advantages due to this. And I think that was a very like it impacted me and the entire journey of our company or myself had changed after that, which tells us how things like our defense industry is so much dependent on the external factors,
Absolutely.
that we need to do something for this defense industry, so that localization can happen. Um our industry, our people will get those opportunities, and that
Absolutely.
is how we shifted. Like that was a huge shift in our
So there is no
whole
talent
attitude.
lacuna in India, but the
No.
issue is we really didn't had any opportunity to work in defense
Yes.
because automotive side was progressing in its own speed,
Yes.
but not the defense side. So because you touched on this DGQA aspect, can you now brief about how you started your career and what is the journey of Niktish engineering and filtration part?
Yes. So my father is an IITN, and he was doing his consultancy work in the air filtration aspect,
Okay.
and air filtration, as well as there were other domains also. One of the domains was CBRN filtration. CBRN stands for chemical, biological, radioactive, and nuclear filtration.
Correct.
So he was working in that domain for some time, and then he was approached by an organization called as R&D Engineers Pune, which is
Digi.
in Digi, for working on one of their very prestigious project, which was called as integrated field shelter. So this integrated field shelter is a shelter which is an underground bunker. It works as it's like a jigsaw puzzle. So you can join multiple components to each
Modular
other.
kind of.
Yeah, it is a modular kind of an arrangement. And then uh, even like 15, 20 army soldiers can erect one entire shelter in a matter of 1 or 2 days. So that is the concept. So they were going into bulk production, and they wanted somebody to manufacture it. So with my father's help, they went to a company called Titagad Wagons, who were also coming into the defense business at that time. And my father worked as like a conduit between R&D engineers and Titagar Wagons, so that they can come into this project. And that is how this we got the touch base of defense industry.
Okay.
And then once this integrated field shelter came into actual, like it was developed, um, uh, when one product goes into defense industry, there is a huge a lot of things go into it.
Absolutely.
A lot of field trials happen,
Yep.
user trials happen, all those things happened. And then when the integrated field shelter went into actual manufacturing, Titagar Wagons requested my father, why don't you also start manufacturing the filtration system? Because anyways, we will have to outsource it from somebody else, because we are not manufacturers or
Correct.
experts
For
in
the
that domain.
filtration part. Yeah.
So why don't you start manufacturing yourself? So I was also young at that time, like young, just came out of college. So it was also a good opportunity for me to begin. So that is how we actually started manufacturing. And yeah, that is how we came into the
So
field.
when you talked about this filtration part, can you brief me about what is the fundamental aspect of air filtration? What are the fundamental things which needs to be considered, especially for the CBRN application?
So this CBRN application is it is CBRN filters are mainly filters which are life-saving devices.
Yep.
So these filters are supposed to save lives of people only during the emergency time. So they are not used on a day-to-day basis. You can assume, like you can think about them as a fire extinguisher.
Okay.
So fire extinguisher is something which is kept, you see it on your day-to-day basis, but you don't use it. You have to use it only when there is a fire.
Correct.
So similarly, if and when there will be a CBRN scenario or an fallout in the environment, at that time these filters will be coming into use. So these are very precious items, as well as items which need to be taken care of, because they are going to save life of people at some point.
Yep.
And the most challenging part about those filters is that they have to work. They will not work for their entire life. For 20 years, they are just kept. But the day that you have to switch them on, they have to
They
work.
have to work.
So that is the most challenging part of it. So the filtration technology is distributed into two parts. One part is a mechanical filtration part of it, which like any other filter, it works. But the main part is the HEPA filters, which
That
take
means
care of
physically you are restricting that particle to
particle
not
to
enter into the
yes.
space which is designed for.
Yes. The challenging part is that the particle size is 0.3 microns. So you have to make sure that the 0.3 micron particle size does not exit without filtration. And the 0.3 micron and the efficiency is 99.995%.
Yeah.
So that is the other challenge.
Okay.
The next part of the CBRN filtration is the chemical filtration or the gas phase filtration, where the filter filters out through adsorption. So it is not mechanical filtration. There is a chemical reaction which happens with the gases and the activated charcoal, and the gas is restricted from passing to the other side.
Okay.
Now, which are these gases? These are gases which are very extremely poisonous, very hazardous for human beings. Gases which are typically known as like mustard gas, DMMP, CK, phosgene, sarin, which are like sometimes nerve agents, or like people will die if they inhale those kind of gases. So these are the two types of filtrations which mainly happen, and the other part is the nuclear dust. So the nuclear dust is also stopped by the HEPA filtration. And if there is any iodine content like in the, then that is also stopped by the carbon filters.
The power went off, but we do have a sunlight, so let's not wait. Okay, so the overall understanding here is we have filtration system which needs to be working when there is a need, not on the daily basis.
No.
And that particular filtration system must be able to withstand or perform its own task without failure.
Yes.
And to save or give a distinctive understanding. So I want to come down to the CBRN part and the recent war which is going on.
Yes.
So we have Gulf, or I'll not call Gulf, but it is West Asia, we can call it. So the Israeli side is there, Iranian side is there,
Yes.
US side is there. So you have a very good connection with the Israeli organizations as well as with the personnel working there. So can you brief about how are your understandings with regards to the actual use of these filters in the war situation?
So I'll just brief a little bit more about the CBRN filtration system.
Sure.
So CBRN filters are basically housed inside a shelter. So the understanding is if there is a situation of war or a situation where people need to be protected, they have to get into the shelter. The shelters are designed in such a way that within few minutes they can be converted into sort of a balloon. Like they can become leak tight.
Okay.
So there are special doors, special windows, special hatches, which
So there will be gaskets and all these things.
so they will people
airtight.
and the systems are designed in such a way that even children, small children to very elderly people can also operate them. So within few minutes, these shelters are converted into like a leak tight room, and then on need basis, the filtration system is switched on, and people have to stay inside. So the walls of these shelters are made from special concrete, so that they can withstand very heavy seismic shocks or shocks coming out of because of blasts which are happen in the nearby vicinity. In some cases also, if actual missiles come and strike these buildings, also these buildings will withstand. So these such kind of shelters are built. These could be underground shelters, or even in countries like Israel, even 10-story building, 15-story building also could be converted into a shelter within few minutes. So now what we are doing is, because now we have to bring in air because people are inside and they need fresh air. what we have to do is we have to put a puncture in the wall, because otherwise we can't bring in fresh air.
Correct.
So we need special valves which need to be put on the on this puncture or the cavity which we have created in the wall, so that air can be brought into it. But now if there is a shock wave, then that entire shock wave will just travel through those
Yes.
through that opening that we have created. So that is why we require blast protection walls on it.
Yep.
So these walls are such walls that in normal routine they will just allow the air to pass in. But if there is a sudden shock which comes, then there are valves or there are components inside which are spring loaded, which will just close and not allow the shock wave to pass inside.
Passes.
So again, this blast valve also forms part of this
So it's not
filtration system.
nowhere near a flexible kind of a filter, or I will say shelter. It's
Yeah.
something which is blast proof or blast protected.
No, there are certain shelters which are also
Oh.
CBRN shelters which are also flexible kind of. There are
So they are
inflatable
not
shelters.
considering the blast load at all. They are only considering
Yes.
the field air which needs to be filtered
Yes.
and came in.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
So what we do is we also have these blast walls, then filtration system, filters. After the filters, there is a blower, and now because we are sucking in air inside the shelter, which is a leak tight shelter, so we also need to let out the excess
Correct.
amount of air, because we can't over pressurize the shelter beyond a certain point. So there is another valve which is called as the overpressure blast valve. So it is a normally closed valve. It opens up only when there is a pressure, certain amount of pressure reaches inside the shelter. It will let go the overpressure and then again closes. But this also needs to withstand the shock, because if the shock comes and it gets destroyed, then we won't be able to generate the necessary overpressure.
Right.
So that is another wall that we supply.
Absolutely. So essentially, these things are, as you rightly mentioned, that they are as and when required kind of systems,
Yes.
not the systems which are in daily use. So they may have an implication with regards to cost of purchase or cost of building.
Yes.
Am I right? So if that is the case, how do you deal with these costings? How do you deal with the overall business aspect of it? What
See,
are the challenges on that front?
These products are highly regulated products.
Okay.
These products, because these are life-saving devices, every country will have their own way of
Regulation.
regulating it. So there are multiple standards that we have to comply to. So one of the standards, which is the most complicated and the stringent standard you can call, is the Israeli standard. Because Israel is also like highly developed in these kind of protection scenarios. So the standard is also very much evolved standard, and also it is one of the only standards which is upgraded on a regular basis. Whereas there are Swiss standards, there are many other standards
Can be
also.
STANAG also, all
Yes.
these things.
But these standards take a long time to evolve. But Israeli standard usually evolves every 3 years, 4 years. There are some new things which are coming in. So we follow that standard.
Okay.
We are approved by by the Standard Institute of Israel.
Okay.
And once we have a standard, then from the innovation side, things become quite easier, because you know what things you have to comply, what are the limiting factors that you have to do, what are the minimum things that you have to put in, what is the what components you have to select, because these kind of standards also will regulate your suppliers.
Yep.
So from that perspective also, the costing can then evolve.
Yep. So 2 points I'm going to come down to. One is innovation.
Yes.
And your early, I can say early childhood life, as well as some college related stuff, and the innovation part. So how are you going to link it up? Is it something which is linked up? Do you have some clues from your child life that okay, I have some innovative stuff I did, and now I'm doing that innovation in my company building or career or problem solving stuff? That's the first question. And the follow up question is, when it comes down to business, what are the key areas which you would like to advise young engineers to focus on? So that is linked to innovation again, but not just the innovation part, the running part also, and the supply chain part also. So you can light us up with regards to your early career or the overall early life of yours.
I don't remember my school, like how it is linked to my school days,
Okay.
but I think definitely going into business or um, to do something on my own. I think it was very much my college life is very much like influenced that kind of
The
decision
innovation
making.
part.
Um, because I got a lot of exposure when I went to college related to some social working organizations,
Mm-hmm.
NCC.
Oh, okay.
Then also I used to I was part of this cultural activities which used to take place in the college. So all these things I think help a lot into shaping your future career life,
Correct.
because you make a lot of friends. You get to work with in groups.
Correct.
So when you work in groups, how you deal with each individual, how you get your things done. Then when you are in college, you also have to closely work with your professors. You have to closely work with your principal to approve or sanction your
So
expenses for these activities. All these expenses are always limited, so you have to convince them how to like the expenses that you are doing, how essential they are. So all these things I think help you shape up,
so selling an idea is
selling an
something.
idea is very important. So you learn how to sell that idea, how to sell that idea successfully,
Correct.
because many people are dependent upon you selling that idea to your principal, and then he signs or sanctions that amount. So I think those things help me a lot. uh, and then the other thing is that when you are working, you face lot of challenges,
Yeah.
small challenges which you think are, but ultimately what you have to decide is that you have to overcome the challenges. You can't go and tell everybody that this is the reason why I couldn't do this is the reason why this couldn't happen.
Mhm.
Ultimately what is important is that what you have decided, that has to be accomplished. um,
It's a very strong point, actually. Correct.
yes, because you can
So,
go back and tell everybody or anybody that this is the reason why I failed, this is the reason
mhm.
why if you are participating in a competition, then this is the reason why we did not win the first prize, or we got disqualified in the first round itself. You can make endless reasons, but
Mhm.
ultimately the fact doesn't change that you failed.
Yeah.
So till the last moment, you have to try and strive to win, or you have to strive to achieve. I think that I learned in a very good way during my college days.
Correct.
Um,
So I think NCC is one part which you touched based
yes,
upon. I think that that is also linked to discipline. So
yes.
how do you link the business success and discipline,
It is
or any
very
success? I will not say just business success. It can be an individual's career success also.
yes. Discipline is very much important. I think more than discipline, patience is very important, because things don't move at the pace that you expect them to move. Uh, there are a lot of times that you want something to happen, but it is not happening because you have put in everything from your side,
Hmm.
or at least you feel that you have put in everything from your side, but your customer is not responding.
Hmm.
You want to get things qualified in a laboratory, but the lab is not available. So there are so many things
So
that
external
so
factors which can slow your ambition
yes,
down.
so you have to be very patient. uh, I think patience is one of the most key aspects uh, that I think is important.
So discipline and patience, these
Yes.
are the two parts which are there. What is the question which is here is, what does innovation really mean for any organization? So it can be a college, it can be a educational institute, or it can be a manufacturing organization or IT service providing company. What in your what is there which is the definition of innovation from your side?
I think innovation for me will be to solve the real problems.
Correct?
I think engineering also means the same.
Yep.
As to you have to
Absolutely.
understand what the real problem is, and you have to find a solution. The
Correct.
real problem is, and because these problems are what are affecting our day-to-day lives,
Mhm.
and that is why that is innovation from my perspective, to solve the
Correct. Solve the
day-to-day
real.
and
Absolutely.
real problems.
Correct. So when it comes down to problem statement, do you have any specific method of identifying a problem, or will you just look at the customer side and get the feedback from the customer, or do you always go out with a team to understand the real problem?
See, ultimately, when we are doing something, at least in the field that I work or our industry, customer is who brings us their problems,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to solve those problems. So,
Correct.
from that perspective, understanding the nitty-gritties of the customer's problem and pinpointing his actual problem, because a lot of times customers come to us with many issues.
Yeah.
So identifying the main issue from that, so we need multiple discussions. So we have very good interactions with our customers, try to understand what the real problem is, and once we know that, I think then the solution becomes, like, finding a solution becomes much easier.
Absolutely.
And also what happens, I have seen, is that in our initial days, we understood from the customer his problem. We started working on the problem in isolation,
Hmm.
but later on we identified is that process of finding the solution also, if you continue to discuss with your
Oh,
customer, it becomes much easier to solve the problem.
so that's like a collaborative effort with the
Yes,
customer, which you have to always focus on.
yes,
Because there are many young engineers who are trying to solve a problem either in their college days or at a startup level. So there they are, as you rightly mentioned, they are working in isolation. They
yes,
think that this is problem of the community, but community really has some different problem. So I think the sentence I really liked is, while trying to solve a problem, if you are collaboratively working with the, or the overall process you are describing to customer, I think you will have a better solution at the end of the day.
yes,
So coming to this same part, uh, when it comes down to innovation, the next step of innovation is manufacturing it at scale.
yes.
Okay. So what is your perspective when it comes down to manufacturing at scale? What is importance of it, and how to deal with this kind of a situation where you want to manufacture it at a scale?
So innovation is like you innovated a product, but that thing can be sustainable only if you can scale it up.
Correct.
I think today the software industry is one of the leading industries, or from all perspectives, like
The money
money
perspective and
perspective, as well as the way everybody wants to go and do something in the software industry. I think the biggest part, the biggest advantage that software industry has is scalability.
correct.
So I think without scale, you can't see the commercial success in.
Yep.
So if any innovation, if it cannot be scaled up, I think that innovation is of no use, because um, you can't
The
sustain
sustainability
sustain.
is at a stake.
Yes. So when you are also innovating, you have to take into consideration that it needs to be scaled up, and it's in our day-to-day things, we say that whatever you do, whatever you design, ultimately you should also be able to manufacture it. don't
Correct.
don't try to find some solutions which you can't manufacture, or
Khayali pulao.
yes, exactly. So you can have, like, I will do something which will go in space, which will have so you have to, when you are innovating at that stage only, you have to have that boundary, that you should, that solution needs to be scaled up,
Scaled up and manufacturable.
manufacture.
So that's
Yes.
something. So manufacturing at scale, what are the challenges you face, because you moved from a from X size factory to an 2x, 3x size of a factory recently.
Yes.
So you must have faced some challenges while scaling up. What key challenges you can, maybe one or two challenges which you faced on that front?
I think the biggest challenge is to identify your suppliers. The supply chain, I think, plays one of the biggest roles in manufacturing. Um, you need to have like-minded people when you are when you want to manufacture, because in your supply chain mainly, because when you are at the beginning stage, nobody wants to associate yourself with a company which is coming with a requirement ki I want only 5 pieces of this, 1 piece of this. So you, why these like-minded people are required is because you need to they need to have trust and faith. They need to take a leap of faith when you are starting a project, that ultimately this thing will be scaled up, or this the product which I am manufacturing in the quantum of say one product or two products or five products will ultimately scaled up into 500, 1000, 1 million, 5 million, in that scale. So that like-mindedness of suppliers is very, very important.
Absolutely.
At the same time, your team that you are working with also needs to believe in you, that you are going to give them a long-term vision, or this company with whom I am associated is going to do something really good. Otherwise, scaling up becomes
So
very
I
difficult.
think purpose of which you are actually started this organization plays a lot of important role when it comes down to having like-minded people. Am I right?
Yes, very much.
So when it comes down to trying to understand purpose, again it's linked to what is the actual problem available in the market which needs to be solved, and the problem in my head which I am trying to solve. These two are two different things, and the purpose is going supposed to be aligned to the problem which is in the market that
Yes.
needs to be understood. So you touched based upon one aspect which I wrote here, which is supply chain, and this aspect actually we had a very short discussion with Yogesh, who came very recently from CVG. He also focused on this supply chain aspect. So can you explain in a, maybe in a simplest term, what is exactly supply chain and how critical it is in the current scenario where we were discussing about Atmanirbhar Bharat? So
Yes.
can you just relate that supply chain part and the Atmanirbhar Bharat part, self-sufficiency part?
So supply chain is where suppliers are somebody who provide raw materials to you. Uh, Components, like they may not be raw
Half finished,
materials,
it
half
can be half
finished,
finished
like
component.
fabricated components, machine components, plastic components. Because when you are setting up a factory, you can't do everything on your own.
Correct.
You need to depend on somebody else, which could also be as small as like not small, but like the contribution, like even hardware items.
Correct.
Small rubber components, small o-rings are required. So supply chain uh, means like all the components that you need to purchase from outside so that you can fulfill the requirements of your product.
Correct.
So
Makes
that supply chain is very critical part of it. You need sometimes special purpose machinery for manufacturing your components. So those machines also should be available in the market. So I think supply chain plays a very important role. So that is the, like, your suppliers are basically your supply chain.
So when it comes down to import, because there will be some critical components which we need to import,
Yes.
either from Western world or from Eastern side or from China. When it comes down to the import items, how do you see this Atmanirbhar playing a role or not playing a role? Both ways.
I think supply chain, like importing, how critical it is. I think we are missing a coffee cup over here today,
Yeah.
and that is because some hotels in the nearby vicinity are not working because there is a shortage of
Shortage
LPG.
of LPG. Absolutely right.
So this is how supply chain is
Yeah, we have a
critical.
coffee cup, but it's empty.
Yes.
So that's correct.
So that's what I'm saying. So
Correct.
nobody
How
must have
valuable it is.
imagined
Yeah.
2 weeks back when the war started that when, like, especially when we are Punekars, we are very much used to just walking anywhere and finding a restaurant. If not anything, we can have a tea anywhere.
Correct.
But right now, this is a situation where we are not able to see many
Tea
small
vendor
tea
is also
vendors
not
which are
able to
working
work.
because they are not able to source LPG. So this is the exact supply chain issue, and Atmanirbhar or self-reliance is important because in such, even during COVID,
Yep.
we identified that a very, like, we don't realize, but a mask which costs 5 rupees, our country was not able to
N95
manufacture.
mask was not
N95
producible.
was not producible in our country, and we had to still depend upon China to import the raw materials, import machinery, import even the slings that we put around our ear for that mask were required to be imported because we had a setup, but it was very small setup. And at that, in those days, it was like almost a few million people were using masks at that time, and we are not able to meet that requirement. And one mask which used to cost 1 rupee at that time, people had to buy it at 20 rupees, which because of the demand
Correct.
supply issue.
Demand supply skewness. That's correct. So what are your experiences with regards to your own suppliers trying to go into the Atmanirbhar path? That means they will also have to comply to your stringent needs of your products.
Yes.
So are they trying to ramp it up with regards to innovation again, and at the same time application of that innovation?
Yes, I think that is why I'm saying that like-mindedness suppliers are very much important. Who really want to solve your problems. Problems are related to raw materials. Problems are related to efficiency. Problems could be related to pricing issues, because commercial things are again one of the most important. So uh, people need to innovate in that aspect also, to use alternative materials so
How we
that
can bring cost down at
cost
the
down,
same
as well
time
as,
volume
yes,
up.
yeah, have bring in new kind of machineries,
Yep.
or build fixtures so that they can reduce the cost, or they can produce repeatable products. So this needs to be like what you require, same needs to be inculcated into your
Into the
suppliers,
supply chain part.
and they also need to have that mindset to continuously improve as you are improving.
Correct. Correct. So when it comes down to this same part, I'm going to touch base on the skill part of the current industry need. We all say as business owners that we are not finding right people. So instead of going in that route, can you route it as to what skills the industry currently needs? It can be from engineers or it can be even from the support staff. So what are the two or three skills which everyone should, or skills or traits which everyone should have, so that colleges, educational institutes can also work in that way, that okay, this is something which is needed in the industry.
I think everybody, like including me, everybody needs to focus on having more interactions with the surroundings. Like, surrounding means it could be people, observation of how things are
Amazing. Okay.
happening. Uh, so that, from that perspective, if we train ourselves to do, then see, we are losing because of this social media which has come up. Small things, like nowadays we don't meet our friends during their birthdays. We just send them a message in the morning, and that's it. So that those kind of the interaction at that level has also gone down.
Gone down.
Similar,
Substantially
so
gone down.
we have started working in isolation. That is why we are not understanding the real problems. So interaction is very important. We have to improve interaction with everybody, be it
So
our
that's why we are
professors.
here at Heroes of Engineering Coffee Meet, right? So
Interaction is very important. Second, I think in college level right now, people have, like, um gathering in-depth knowledge is missing, I think, from that perspective. I meet a lot of engineers during while we take interviews, or people. So when we asked what kind of project you did, you just give your brief about the project that you did in your last semester, or I think the one semester before your last semester, they have to submit a project and a thesis or something like that. So people have written very, because nowadays they get good help from AI. So in their resume, they have written like one full paragraph or very very nice things about what
Decorative,
project,
yeah,
decorative way they have done that. But when you start asking them questions, you realize that this, like, either they were part of that team, just a part of that team, but they did not contribute to that project anywhere, or they just copied the project from somebody. So I think uh, we need to understand that this project is for our own self. It is not just to get marks.
right.
Uh, so just doing things for the sake of scoring marks, I think that that habit has to be like thrown
Should
away.
go away.
It should go away, and people should do, or education has to be to actually learn,
Yep.
not to score marks and get I studied well in 10th so that I get a good college in 11th and 12th. Then in 12th I study because I have to go to IIT or I have to go to a good college.
Right.
That should not be the aim. The aim has to learn. You have to, grasp what you are learning and to use it in your later stages, not to just learn. Because how can you forget a project just done six
Just
months
done
ago?
6 months ago.
Why you did that project, what went into that things? Because even when you are building something, even the smallest part, one hardware part, for example, if you have to select an Allen bolt, or you have to select a CSK bolt, which size, which millimeter bolt you have to select, that also some thought has to put into it,
Yep. Absolutely.
which is one of the smallest or the most cheap part in that
Entire
project.
system, yeah.
But that also lot of thought has to be put in, and then only it comes into that design.
Makes sense.
But if you don't know why that bolt was in that project, why that bolt was a part of that bill of materials, then that means you did not put your
Right.
heart and soul into that project.
Absolutely, makes sense. So two skills you pointed out. One is the observation skill,
Yes.
which is missing, and maybe the observation skill is missing because we are not interacting with
Yes.
with people or with community overall to
Yes.
get the problem. So I think this is really valuable for anyone who wants to enter into any career path. If you are entering into a specific career path, the understanding of that problem and the observation part is really very important. So super valuable, Nikhil. This is really important. And what challenges did you face uh, while hiring? Especially you mentioned about the skills which are required, but when it comes down to hiring challenges, uh, can you highlight few of the challenges which you are facing? It can be at any level, non-technical, technical level. So, any specific challenges you have?
I think challenges are, firstly, being an MSME, we have lot many challenges, because the kind of infrastructure which we as an industry provide to our, like, that is our problem. That is
Yeah.
not the problem of the prospective employee or anybody or the student, because everybody wants comfort. Everybody is looking for a stable
Career
career
entry.
entity. Like, if they want to work with you, they need to be assured that this can go on for a longer period of time, their salaries will come on time. So these challenges we face from our perspective, our side.
Correct.
From the side of the person who has come for the interview, I think uh, confidence is many times lacking.
Okay.
I have seen, especially if they are not fluent in English,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that becomes one of the biggest roadblocks, I think, for them in the industry. But my suggestion is that you should not worry if your English is bad or you can't. Whatever language you can communicate, you have to communicate
No
with,
confident.
full confidence, and that confidence will come only if you are telling the truth. If you are making things up, if you are you have taken some career counseling from some, nowadays there are a lot of influencers on the social media, so if you are taking guidance from them, then you won't be able to tell the real, like the truth. So if you can do that, then I think
I think so. For you, the biggest challenge is there is lack of confidence because there is lack of actual work,
yes,
which needs to happen in the academia side.
yes,
Okay, so that's a super useful part. So we touch based upon something which is not related to technical. Okay, so the confidence part which Nikhil explained, observation part which you touched based, and the interaction with like-minded people or even with your friends. That is something
yes.
which is missing and which is very true. So coming to last maybe couple of questions, if student really wants to build a product, where should they start? What should be the start point if a student wants to develop something which is a real problem solving kind of a stuff? So what can be your guideline to have an innovation done at a student level?
I think they need to interact with the industry, manufacturing industry,
Okay.
maybe the owners of the
Hmm.
industries, or maybe even people who are working in the industry, or at sometimes I think even interaction with workers, people who are actually operating lathe machines, who are doing the welding jobs. I think that you should interact with them, because these are the actual people who are going to build your product. um, I have seen many times uh, that our lathe operator, he is not educated. He I think he did not even do his ITI. He learned through experiences. So many times our engineers take some problem to him, and he just say, "Yeah, ho jayega." So
Got it.
so if you stand beside somebody who who is actually putting like dirtying his hands in the oil and doing the actual job, if you interact with these kind of people, you will gain immense knowledge which you may not gain from anybody else. So you have to speak with them, you have to tell your problems with them, you have to understand from them how this
They are
part could be
tackling that.
manufactured,
Yeah.
how this part could be done. Because many times when you are innovating or you are doing building the product, fixtures are not available, tooling is not available, so you have to do some zugad to
Correct.
do that. um, so all these things you can learn from them.
Perfect. So I think interaction with the industry. I think I have also advocated it many times that you have to do an internship, a real internship in a manufacturing industry for some time. It can be 1 month internship, 2 months internship, or it can go to 6 months internship. But that is something which is really necessary. And the steps which we are trying to take care of are industrial visits. So not the internship. That also can be a valuable part where industrial visits can play a
I
valuable
think
role.
an internship has to be a multi departmental internship. Like when you join, you go for an internship, you should not only say that I want to go and work only in the design department.
Hmm.
You should work in design department for a few months,
Correct.
maybe 2 or 3 months. Then you should go to the quality department to
Understand how.
understand. You also have to go to the actual manufacturing floor and do some
Yeah.
internship. You have to work in the store department. So it has to be like in you need to touch all these
Yeah.
aspects of engineering.
Absolutely. So, last question: where do you see this entire MSME ecosystem building or getting ready for the Atmanirbhar Bharat stuff? Are we really ready? Are we? Do we want to scale it up to a certain extent, or are we going in the right path? How it is?
I think there is no option to Atmanirbhar.
Okay. So that's way out.
There is no option. Like we can't say that we will get, because we are seeing the global scenario in these days, and this is going to worsen. This is not
Yeah.
going to improve anyways. Maybe the war will stop,
Yeah, but the supply
but the
chains will
supply
be
chain
still
are going to
disrupted.
remain disrupted. Uh, we have to build whatever we want to build. That has to be manufactured and made in India. Uh, so there is no option to that.
Correct.
So from the and MSMEs are the only, I think, people who are flexible, and that is why prototyping, development, designing new products, I think MSMEs are much agile and faster. Big companies like L&T and Tata's, they can build products, but their agility is very less because they have
Correct.
to
Or
go through a huge
size.
processes. Whereas in MSMEs, the decision makers are one or two people who can just sit over a coffee and take decisions and start going into the direction which has to be done. So I think MSMEs are the ones who are going to lead in the domain of innovation, or in Atmanirbhar Bharat also.
Correct.
You can see, and defense industry currently there is a huge opportunity. Not like defense is one of the industries which has huge opportunities. Reason being is that even today, I think about 60% of our requirements are still being imported, or whatever the other 40% also. What is happening is we don't know the real technology. We are just manufacturing with the drawings which are given to us by the foreign companies. So the main design knowledge, know-how, all those things also we need to learn. And I think MSMEs can, like, will be the best, or have the best opportunity right now to do that.
So, as MSME owner, will you advocate young engineers to start their career in MSMEs first, or will you still incline towards having a job in a large corporate?
No, I think from as a business owner perspective, I will always advocate that people should start through MSMEs. Their career growth, career path needs to be like from MSMEs, because in MSMEs you get a lot of freedom.
Yep.
You get a lot of real exposure. You get lot of you get to interact with suppliers, with uh, and you have got freedom over there. You can do whatever you want to do in such kind of organizations. Whereas big organizations are all SOP based. A lot of things are already in place. Whereas here you actually become part of building those SOPs.
Correct.
Whereas in big companies there are already set SOPs which you just become a
have to
follower
follow.
over there.
Okay. Amazing. Any book suggestion you have? Do you read books which are related to not just? I'm not just asking about the technical books. I'm asking about general life related books. Do you have that kind of a suggestion for the audience?
I think a very good book that I read a long time back, and that has also helped me very much, is there is a book called as How to Win Friends by Dale Carnegie. I think it's a 105 years old book,
Correct.
but it is still very, very relevant. Then Rich Dad Poor Dad is one of the very important books that
Robert Kiyosaki.
yes, which I read very recently. But I think I should have read that book way back.
Everyone
So-
thinks in the exact same way that why I didn't read this book long back.
Yes, so that is another important book.
Amazing. Okay, so that's all from my side, Nikhil. Thanks a lot for candid conversation and throwing some light on industry, academia, MSME, defense, and the
Yes.
other bits. Of course, this coffee meet is going to continue with many such guests who are going to talk about real problems and the solutions, how they are providing, what they are providing. At the same time, we would really like you to have a networking platform used in the Coffee Connect WhatsApp group, which is only available for those who are really coming down here, attending the coffee meet, and then they can join the Coffee Connect WhatsApp group, so they can ask questions to the guests or to the future guests. Okay. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon in the next month podcast. See you then. Bye.
And thank you for calling me.
Yeah.